Greetings to all of my loved ones. Welcome back to another episode of Healing Wisdom with me, your favorite, realist, sexiest spiritual advisor, Empress Oracle, the original one. On behalf of Starseed Galactic Federation, I have been given access to this knowledgeable information from my Akashic records for the purpose of helping humanity. This knowledgeable information is given directly to me as a divine channel, and any use and or reproduction of the information without the proper accreditation or acknowledgement from where it was received will result in instant karma for the plagiarizing parties and or individuals. And so it is. Now, y'all, today I really want to talk about giving yourself grace, because I feel as though that's very important. I can't help but notice I'm guilty of this too. A lot of times, life may throw us curveballs. We may go through things that were not foreseen. They were unexpected. Life gives us unexpected surprises sometimes. Sometimes life gives us challenges and we're not aware of how to go through those challenges. And then sometimes we may do something and we may feel as though that's the right thing to do, and it ends up not working out the way that you thought that it would, or it could be a trigger for something else. And what I'm seeing is that when situations like this are happening, more often than not, this is a cause that is making people go into being stuck in their head, having mental breakdowns, emotional breakdowns, beating themselves up and negating all the work that they've done in the past. Guys, I used to do that shit too. As a matter of fact, I still do that sometimes, and then I have to remember to give myself grace. I have to remember, one, the race is not for the swift, and two, nothing is perfect. Sometimes you feel like, okay, everything outside of me needs to be perfect since I'm not. And what I had to realize and give myself grace about was to realize that nothing in life is perfect. However, everything in life is set up and orchestrated in a divine pattern that's going to help you to grow. It's for your divine purpose. So sometimes we have to understand we need to give ourselves grace, because life is not easy. I say all the time, life is a roller coaster. You're going to have your ups, you're going to have your downs. And the thing is, we can be so high up. The devil don't want me to speak, but I rebuke in the name of Jesus, because I'm going to get this message out, okay? Anywho, sometimes we can be on such a high when life is going good, that once the roller coaster starts going down, once we have a little dip in life, once we have a trial, a tribulation, a struggle, it can take us down so bad. It can make us feel as though our whole life is just crumbling and shattering. And guys, that's not so. It's not so. What we have to understand is, if life was perfect, if everything was to go smooth, we would be unproductive, we would be weak, we'd be susceptible to more things that we don't even know about. Okay? That's why, sometimes we have to go through things in order to grow through things. That's where growth comes from. Anybody who says that they just want an easy life, that says that they have already put a cap or a ceiling on their growth. Okay? They have no growth potential. So you have to recognize those things. You have to recognize when you're having a dip in life. When you're on your ups, you appreciate the ups in life. You appreciate the good things. Those are the things that you're supposed to make memories out of. All right? And whenever you have your dip in life, when things get low, you need to remind yourself that this too shall pass. It's just a phase. It's just a season. Nothing lasts forever. So give yourself grace whenever you get low, or whenever you feel as though you're at your lowest. You have to understand, sometimes also too, God will bring you down so that you remember who's really in charge. Because we like to control things so much. I'm guilty of that too. I used to be a big ass control freak. All right, I used to be a big control freak. Not in every aspect of my life, but in certain areas of my life, I used to want to, and shit just kept fucking up. It just kept fucking up, and I was like, you know what? And now, mind you, I grew up in the church, and then you come a certain age, you go through your little heathen phase and whatnot. But those times when I was trying to be a control freak, that's when that time used to happen, it would be like, okay, I went through something, I was praying, God help me, talking to my angels, my spirit guides and stuff, and everything gets good, and I'm like, okay, I got this, I'm in control. And then it's like, God be like, oh bitch, no, you always need me in your life. Okay? And what we have to understand is we have to give ourselves grace when we get those lows, because sometimes those lows are just to kind of realign us, help us to reevaluate where we are. And sometimes those lows happen because we're not focusing, or we're losing sight of what our true mission is, our true purpose is, or the reason why we're even going through that experience. We have to understand that sometimes all lessons are not going to be hard, but sometimes the most poignant lessons are the ones that hurt the most. So that's why it's important for us to give ourselves and sometimes each other grace. But you have to know when to give somebody grace, because a lot of times, as I said before, people will mistake your kindness for weakness. So I'm sorry, guys. I should have gave you the definition when I first started, but I was so into it. When I say give yourself grace, the definition of grace, there's many definitions for grace. However, we are going to go with number 2, which has a lot of subcategories, because that definitely defines what I'm talking about. So grace is approval or favor, mercy or pardon, a disposition to or an act or instance of kindness, courtesy, or clemency, a temporary exemption. And clemency, for those of you guys who don't know what that is, I know if anybody's ever heard the word clemency, they probably was watching a court trial or something. But clemency is a disposition to be merciful, and especially to moderate the severity of punishment due, or an act or instance of leniency. All right. So, and clemency and leniency basically are the same thing. So there's no need for me to go ahead and define that for you guys. But what I wanted you guys to understand is that they all tie together. Grace, clemency, leniency. Sometimes we have to be easy on ourselves. Sometimes we have to pardon ourselves and understand that the situation that's going on in our life is not necessarily your fault. You know, you may have had a part to play. You may be a trigger. You may go through something because you are triggered. And when that happens, sometimes you don't realize till after the fact. After you know popped off, then you realize, oh, give yourself some grace. Because you know what? Although we all have very high expectations for ourselves, we all should know by now that perfection does not exist. Nothing and nobody is perfect. Your life is not meant to be perfect. When you make your mistakes, give yourself some grace, give yourself some leniency. Instead of going in your head and beating yourself up about it, instead of throwing away all of the progress that you've made to get to the point where you are, when you may mess up something, instead of doing that, give yourself that grace. Understand that the fact that you even realize that something happened that was not good, to even give yourself grace, that means that you learned something from that experience. And that is a point of growth. And sometimes we don't necessarily see our growth. A lot of times we want to see growth in, like, you know, a big portion. A lot of times people are not really counting the growth. They want to see the bigger picture. However, sometimes God will pause you in certain situations for you to look back, right? And say, hey, remember when this instance happened last time, how you handled it? Okay, here we are again. It's time for you to give yourself some grace instead of beating yourself up, and handle it differently in a better way, because you have learned, or you are learning. That's why it's very important. We have to stop beating ourselves up, because if we beat ourselves up about the things that we do, the things that we cannot control, those are blockages that we are putting on ourselves. Those are self-induced blockages, self-induced limitations that really are stopping us and losing us from our goal. Sometimes you just have to, you know, be like, okay, well, shit happens. I'm not saying for you to just brush things off, but you have to evaluate situations, see what you've learned from it, give yourself some grace. Okay, if you missed the red flags, if you missed the warning signs that time, it's okay. Now you know. Give yourself some grace. Don't sit there beating yourself up talking about woulda, coulda, shoulda. Why didn't I do that? Don't do that, because you're missing the moral of the point of the story. You're missing the lesson. You're getting caught up in what went wrong instead of what went right. And what goes right, when you give yourself grace, when you give yourself pardon, when you give yourself leniency in situations that you have no control over, what happens is it grows you from within. And as within is without. Okay, it's like, you know, they say every time you learn something, it puts another wrinkle in your brain. You put another wrinkle in your brain. You give yourself that grace and pardon, and not only with that will that help you to continue forward with your journey, but also too, you'll be able to show that same grace to somebody who may need it, somebody else who may be stuck in their head or reliving the past, and they just don't know how to get over it. That's why it's so very important to understand grace is not just for people who feel like they're holier than thou. Grace is for everybody. All right. I'm not saying for you to keep giving people grace and keep letting them step all over you. You have to have limits. You have to have personal boundaries, personal limitations, even for yourself. If you know you keep fucking something up, Sometimes you have to be real with yourself. Sometimes you have to pull the grace from yourself and be like, okay, this is what I need to do. Sometimes you have to be your own boss. And that's something a lot of people find hard to do, but it can be done. Right? So that's what I want to talk to you guys about. Give yourself grace in the things that you do. Give yourself grace whenever you make mistakes. But make sure that you learn from those mistakes. Learning is very important. And that's the only way that you're really going to be able to see your growth, is if you learn something from those instances, from those downsides in life. And you don't stay down. You give yourself grace like, damn, I fell, I fucked up, I relapsed, whatever it is, I backslid, whatever it is. Give yourself grace for that, because you realize that you did it. And then you pick yourself up, brush yourself off, and you carry the fuck on smartly. That is what you're supposed to do, guys. You carry on smartly. Don't beat yourself up about it. Don't hold yourself accountable for certain things that you cannot control. If it's bothering you so bad, pray about it. You know, sometimes we cannot forgive ourselves, but God can, right? So if you are beating yourself up about a situation, pray about it and give it to God. And the same way that he will fix that situation is the same way that he will fix you and heal your heart, so that even if not right at that time, you can give yourself grace and move forward. It'll be easier. It'll start the healing process from you, from the inside out. It's very important. I love you all. And for anybody who is struggling with anything, if anybody is beating themselves up about anything in the past, listen, it's in the past. You made it through. You survived. So you always have another chance. You always have another day. You always have another, what's the word? Another opportunity to get it right. So give yourself some grace and just keep on trying to keep on pushing forward. Alrighty? You can do it. I believe in you. Now it's time for you to give yourself grace and believe in yourself. And also too, if you need help on your spiritual journey, make sure you check out my shop on Etsy. That's Empress Oracle Shop. There I have healing crystals that can help you, because sometimes it's hard for people to let go of things mentally and emotionally. There are crystals that are specifically to help you to release negative, toxic emotions, help to, enhance your self-esteem, your self-love. I have body butters, oils, everything that you need to aid you on that journey on Etsy on Empress Oracle Shop. So go ahead and check me out. I love you all, and I hope you have a wonderful, amazing weekend. And don't forget to show yourself some grace, okay? I love you guys with the love of God.